Welcome back to FNAF Explained. Today, we're finally getting somewhere. I mean, we've already covered the first 2 games, and we figured out a lot of things. We know a lot more about the killer, we know what happened to the kids. We're starting to get somewhere here. If you missed the first 2 episodes, make sure to check those out first, but today, we're going to be delving into FNAF 3. Now, FNAF 3 is probably the last relatively simple game before we get into a lot of more confusing, a bit harder to understand stuff, but we'll get through it all. But today, we're going to be taking another look at the killer, the purple guy, and we're going to be establishing what happens to him. We already know what he did, but what happens to him after the animatronics become possessed? Where did he go? The last we hear of him is that he was convicted, but was he ever actually put in prison? Well, we'll see in this game, FNAF 3. See, it's all about what happens to him next. But, of course, first a really quick description of what this game is going to be. So in this game, we're going to be in a location that takes place decades after the first 2 games. This one seems to take place in the 2020s, so we're like right on the cusp of whenever FNAF 3 takes place. The most common idea is around 2024, but it doesn't matter all that much. We don't need a specific date. You're not working in a normal pizzeria either, you're working in a horror attraction called Fazbear Fright. So, in this game, Scott didn't even have to try to make things look somewhat kid-friendly. In this thing, it's just creepy. And there's a lot of green, let me tell you, there is a lot of green. You're here working as a performer, but also as a security guard, just like in the last 2 games. You're watching people, making sure, as Phone Guy says,
no one makes out in the corner.
But soon enough, they find an actual animatronic for this place. And of course, there'll be more 8-bit minigames which kind of reveal the story here. First, as always, I'm going to play the phone calls we hear, all the important parts of them anyway, so you kind of know what's going on here. And as always, I recommend you play the game first, or at least watch another YouTuber play it before you watch this video. I don't know, Markiplier or something. But if you want to watch this video, go on ahead. I am not going to stop you. Okay, before we get to the phone calls, I know what you're wondering. How is Phone Guy alive again? And Scott found another way to get around this after his death in FNAF 1. In the second game, it was because, oh, that one's a prequel. In this one, it's because this isn't actually Phone Guy, this is Phone Dude. Could be like a distant relative of Phone Guy, or someone completely unrelated who just happens to have a very similar voice. It doesn't matter, he's just here to kind of tell us, just show us the ropes anyway.
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time. We found some great new relics over the weekend, and we're out tracking down a new lead right now. So, let me just update you real quick, then you can get to work. Like, the attraction opens in like a week, so we have to make sure everything works and nothing catches on fire. You'll be starring as the security guard. But, like I said, we're trying to track down a good lead right now. Some guy who helped design one of the buildings says it was like an extra room that got boarded up, or something like that. Look, this place will give you the spooks, man, and if you let that ventilation go offline, then you'll start seeing some crazy stuff, man. Keep that air flowing.
So Phone Dude tells us that the new Fazbear Entertainment thing is basically trying to capitalize off of the old rumors about Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and how it had a bit of a shady past. The company is going to be looking up into an old boarded-up room to investigate and see if they can find any goodies in there to put inside this horror attraction, Fazbear's Fright. For the first night, they haven't found anything, but on the second night, they find something.
Hey man, okay, I have some awesome news for you. First of all, we found some vintage audio training cassettes. Dude, these are like prehistoric. I think they were like training tapes for like other employees or something like that.
Now here's the thing, Phone Dude actually doesn't show up too much for this game. Eventually, he finds some old cassette tapes from the old Phone Guy, so he returns once again. This time, though, these are training tapes for old employees. Something similar to the phone calls you get in the first 2 games, only this is for actual animatronic performers, where Phone Guy is telling them how to perform and how not to bleed out. Here, let's get to that.
But I have an even better surprise for you. You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one. A I'm sure you'll see it. Okay, I'll leave you with some of this great audio that I found. Talk to you later, man. Hello. Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. These tapes will provide you with much-needed information on how to handle/climb into/climb out of mascot costumes. Right now, we have two specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. So please pay close attention while learning how to operate these suits, as accidents/injuries/death/irreparable and grotesque maimings can occur. First, we will discuss how to operate the mascots when they are in animatronic form. For ease of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound cues. This is an easy and hands-free approach to making sure the animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment/crowd-pleasing value. To change the animatronics to suit mode, insert and turn firmly the hand crank provided by the manufacturer. Turning the crank will recoil and compress the animatronic parts around the sides of the suit, providing room to climb inside. Please make sure the spring locks are fastened tight to ensure the animatronic devices remain fixed. We will cover this in more detail in tomorrow's session. Remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Hello. For today's lesson, we will be continuing our training on proper suit handling techniques. When using an animatronic as a suit, please ensure that the animatronic parts are tightly compressed and fastened by the spring locks located around the inside of the suit. It may take a few moments to position your head and torso between these parts in a manner where you can move and speak. Try not to nudge or press against any of the spring locks inside the suit. Do not touch the spring locks at any time. Do not breathe on the spring locks, as moisture may loosen them and cause them to break loose. In the case that the spring locks come loose while you are wearing a suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out, as to not ruin the customer experience. As always, if there is ever an emergency, please go to the designated safe room. Every location is built with one extra room that is not included in the digital map layouts programmed into the animatronics or security system. This room is hidden to customers, invisible to animatronics, and is always off camera. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
So here is the introduction of spring lock suits. Now, spring lock suits are very different from normal suits. They have two modes. There's the robot mode and there's the costume mode. You don't just flip a switch to turn them from each one. No, there is spring locks inside of the suit. Spring locks are basically mechanisms that hold back the robotic parts inside of the suit. Because obviously you can't go into the suit when the robotic parts are in there, so what the spring locks do is they push all those parts to the side so you can fit inside the suit and perform. The problem is, a lot of these suits are very delicate, and if you trip the spring locks, all of those robotic parts come crashing into the suit just like they would normally do, except now you're inside. Apparently there's been accidents with this before, and Fazbear Entertainment didn't want to repeat this again.
Hello. There's been a slight change of company policy concerning use of the suit. Don't. After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suit temporarily unfit for employees. Safety is top priority at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is why the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technicians. Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected. I repeat, the classic suits are not to be touched, activated, or worn. That being said, we are free of liability. Do as you wish. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Hello. This is just a reminder of company policy concerning the safe room. The safe room is reserved for equipment and/or other property not being currently used and as a backup safety location for employees only. This is not a break room and should not be considered a place for employees to hide and/or congregate. And under no circumstance should a customer ever be taken into this room and out of the main show area. Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved and would like to remind employees that this costume is not safe to wear under any circumstances. Hello. This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Work crews will be here most of the day today, constructing a false wall over the old door face. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
Now, I'm sure all of this seems really random and really disconnected, and you're not quite sure how it all fits together. It'll all make sense soon. Just give me a second here to explain the last few bits here that I have to talk about before we start piecing things together. Okay, let's finally get a good look at the animatronic in this game. His name is Springtrap. Now, Springtrap is kind of gross. I mean, he's very green, very moldy. He wasn't always this green, but we'll get to that in a second. And it looks like he might actually have organs of some sort inside of him. That could just be a trick of the light, but, well, it's not. This guy will come lumbering through the halls toward you through the entire night, and he's the only animatronic you really have to worry about killing you. He's attracted to noise, just like the old animatronics were said to be. They go wherever the noise is. That's why you're equipped with sound that you can play in any of the rooms in this location to sort of steer him away from you. Of course, there are other animatronics in this game. There are the phantom animatronics. And now these are basically just, well, green versions of the old animatronics. They're ghostly apparitions. We don't know how they got here. They could just be hallucinations, but I'll explain that to you in a second. The point is, they cannot hurt you. They can only distract you and cause your systems to go offline. So I think the first question that we should solve here is, who is Springtrap? That seems like the first logical thing to actually try and solve here. Springtrap, as you can see from some rare screens on the main menu, has someone inside of him, just like I clued at before. This person, whoever they are, have not been alive for a very long time, and they could be a victim of getting spring-locked inside of this suit. The spring locks likely snapped in on them. Who this person was and why they're trying to attack us now, we'll get to. To answer that question, we have to go to the 8-bit minigames in this game. Now, I haven't talked about these yet, so let's go through a quick little description of each of them. First of all, at the end of every night, you go to a minigame where you play as one of the main animatronics. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, you know the drill. You're wandering through the pizzeria as the purple guy is telling you to follow him. You follow him towards one of the safe rooms. We know this is the safe rooms because you can't walk into it. It's not in your programming, and so you're just not allowed to, even though the room is there. Just like the safe rooms were described. But Purple Guy is inside that room, and he jumps out to dismantle each of the animatronics at the end of every night. Now, in the last one, you don't play as an animatronic, but rather this little gray sprite. Who is this guy? Well, he's a children's soul. And he's wandering through the pizzeria, but this time no one is telling him to follow them. He wanders through the pizzeria, and eventually finds Purple Guy. Now, Purple Guy is in a room. It's very empty. It's the safe room, as with before, but this time, since you're not an animatronic, you can enter it. In this room as well are 4 other ghostly children. Sound familiar? Yes, these are the souls of the animatronics. Only now, since the animatronics have been taken apart, they don't have a body and they're forced to wander around this pizzeria. Purple Guy is obviously scared, showing that he can see these souls. They're not invisible to him or something. And he's trying to get away from them until he goes to seek refuge in a yellow suit lying in the corner. Now this is where things start to come together. A yellow suit. The first thing you might think of is Chica, but no, she's not important, she's never been important, and she'll never be important. I'm sorry, it's true. This looks more like Golden Freddy, only with golden rabbit ears instead. And yes, that is exactly what this guy is. He's not Golden Freddy, he's Golden Bonnie. Or as his actual official name is, Spring Bonnie. See, as explained in the phone calls, there are 2 Springlock suits. At least 2 that are in commission. There's the Golden Freddy and Spring Bonnie suits. Spring Bonnie is here, lying in the corner, and, just like it said in FNAF 2, in one of the phone calls, A yellow suit was used by a purple guy to kill these children, and it is this very Spring Bonnie suit. And then he hid the bodies in the other suits, such as the Golden Freddy suit. In fact, that explains the reason the Golden Freddy suit can't move. As a soul, the children can't move around in these suits because, well, they don't have the proper mechanisms. They're spring-lock suits. You can't just walk around in them, you have to trip the spring locks first. So, back to our minigame. Purple guy goes to hide in this suit, and as he does, he trips the spring locks. It's not quite sure why this could be. It could be sweat because he's scared, but something triggers these spring locks, like some form of moisture. And he is crushed inside. And this seems to be the end of our killer. He starts bleeding out, the children fade away, and we get our happy ending. Mind you, to get that happy ending, you have to solve some other really cryptic minigames. They don't seem to have much lore importance, and if they do, we've never solved it. I may get to it in the second part of the video for the older fans, so if you want the answer to that, I recommend you check out more of this series first, or else it just absolutely won't make sense. Regardless, if you complete all of these and you unlock this minigame as well, you get your happy ending, where it looks like these suits are no longer possessed. It looks like the children, having gotten revenge on their killer, have been set free. It's a very happy ending, except, well, there's a problem. As you may have pieced together already, the purple guy isn't dead. Well, at least not quite. See, the Spring Bonnie suit is still very much active, as we find out in Fazbear Fright. Yes, in case you didn't piece it together already, Spring Bonnie is Springtrap. He's gotten green with mold, the body of Purple Guy is still inside of him, and I guess that means technically this is the first time we've actually seen a human in this series, albeit a very dead one. Never mind. The point is, now it's up to you to finally finish this guy off. And you do in the end of the game where the the horror establishment burns to the ground. This could also explain why the phantoms exist. See, we thought that the souls were set free, but it's entirely possible that they could have not been set free since the killer is still alive. Once he's released here, they could easily come back to haunt you. Or it could just be hallucinations. To be honest, we don't really know. But it's likely that they are the souls, only now their suits have been taken apart, they have to wander as ghosts that can't actually kill you. The phantoms. Although there is one problem. See, even after you burn down the entire establishment, if you beat Night 6, the bonus night, you can see in the new newspaper that says that Fazbear Fright burns, if you brighten up the image, you can see Springtrap is still lurking in the background. It looks like he may have survived this fire after all, and the purple guy may still be around. But I guess we'll have to find out next time. Now, one more thing I'd like to talk about. I kind of glanced over the shadow animatronics from FNAF 2, because to explain them, we would have to have this game. Now I can talk about them freely with you guys, and it's pretty interesting, this theory of what they could be. See, the most popular theory is that Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy, well, I mean, Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie. There seems to be a connection there. It's the same animatronics, which seems like a really weird coincidence. What could this mean? Well, on Night 4 of FNAF 3, Phone Guy mentions multiple simultaneous spring lock failures, as in people who were crushed in spring lock suits. Multiple. Now this could just mean that multiple spring locks failed, but that's usually the case. It wouldn't be anything surprising. Usually it seems that when one spring lock fails, multiple do. What Phone Guy likely means here is that multiple animatronics failed at once. Specifically the Spring Bonnie and Spring Freddy suits. The Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy animatronics could be the representations of the employees who were killed in these suits. It's an interesting theory, and although it doesn't have much evidence, I think I could see it being the case. One thing that I haven't heard people talk about, but that I just thought of, is that it's interesting how they are purple as well as Purple Guy. I don't think it means anything, but one thing it could mean is, since all three of these people could have been spring-locked, perhaps the color purple is linked with being spring-locked. It's just an idea I had. I don't think it actually is true, but it's definitely something to think about. Alright, now that's all we have to talk about for FNAF 3, and honestly, that didn't take too long. This game is a lot more easy to understand than the others. It just has a lot of separate ideas that you have to link together to really figure things out. Once you've done that, it's smooth sailing. So now we're going to be moving on to the section for older fans, and talking about some of the theories that I have that newer fans should probably check out the rest of the series before they actually check out this part, because it'll just be extremely confusing. As I mentioned in the first part of the video, the explanation for the phantoms could be that they're actually the souls of the children, and now, since Phone Guy dismantled those old animatronics, and the others were dismantled by Fazbear Entertainment themselves, those souls don't have bodies, and therefore can still appear to you, but can't kill you. Of course, this is probably not the case, since other animatronics like Balloon Boy also have phantoms, which I don't think Balloon Boy is possessed. If anything, he's been, injected with a remnant or something, like the Funtime animatronics were. But either way, it's hard to say. I don't think we've ever really gotten a full explanation for the phantoms, and we've just kind of been left with speculation for all this time. But I think that is the best explanation we have, even if some animatronics like Balloon Boy don't quite match it. I am hoping, though, that we do get a better explanation for it later on. Also, I guess that wouldn't really work with the puppet, since the puppet is still apparently around inside Lefty. Yeah, none of it really makes sense, but it's the best idea we have. Let me know if you guys have any other ideas, because I would love to hear them. I don't really have any other ideas myself, so. One other little fun fact, did you know that Golden Freddy, when slumped on the floor, kind of matches Spring Bonnie's position from the 8-bit minigame? I mean, obviously, since he's 8-bit, it's hard to tell, but I thought it was cool. Alright, now let's tackle the main issue I wanted to in this second section. I didn't mention it in the start of the video, since we still don't know what half of the 8-bit minigames in this game mean. A lot of them just seem super random, but I do want to go through them and give just kind of my thoughts on what they could mean, potentially. As with the last video, I'm getting this part from the Freddy files because it has a lot of really helpful info, and I don't want to go through all these games again myself. So if you want to check that out, I mean, it's a book. You know where to find it. It's a book. The first minigame, Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, has, nothing to talk about. I mean, it's Balloon Boy in a pretty gray room with a little bit of platforming action and balloons that he has to collect. And then, there's the exit. It's really, see, this is why I didn't mention it in the main part of the video for the new fans. It's just there's so little here to work with. It just seems like a minigame that's meant to unlock the final ending. It doesn't seem like it's supposed to have extra lore itself. The second minigame, though, Mangle's Quest, is a bit more interesting. See, in this one, you're trying to collect Mangle's parts, while also avoiding children for some reason. As you enter the second door, the one that you're supposed to, you would come across a large version of what appears to be a crying puppet, the puppet. It's hard to say what this means. I mean, it's probably just an Easter egg, oh, hey, the puppet's there. But it's really hard to say. Again, I can't think of what this could mean. It could be, what I'm thinking it's another hint that the puppet is the one that's behind all this. Just in case that wasn't clear enough already. Maybe it's Scott, just, again, pointing to, yeah, the puppet is the one who's kind of orchestrating all of this. Chica's Party, again, pretty much very similar to Balloon Boy's Air Adventure. Not much to talk about there. But the next one, Stage 01. Very interesting name, first of all, and just really, well, let's talk about it. First of all, the code you type in to actually access this game is reverse for a familiar shade of purple in hex code, which is just, couldn't explain it to you if I tried. And when you enter, you get probably our first look at Fredbear's Family Diner, featuring Spring Bonnie and Spring Freddy. One thing to say, I never understood why Spring Bonnie and Golden Freddy have different names. It should either be Spring Bonnie and Spring Freddy, or Golden Bonnie and Golden Freddy. I hate it. I always mix it up. So if you hear me mix it up in this video, just try to get through it. Doesn't end up going anywhere, no new revelations about Fredbear's Family Diner, just, yep, they're here, and then the end. You see why I didn't want to talk about these minigames? Alright, second to last, we have Shadow Bonnie's a minigame, which features Shadow Bonnie kind of glitching in and out of the other minigames, kind of confirming that he's been around basically since the beginning here, which he already shows up in FNAF 2, meaning he was likely killed in before FNAF 2. So we already kind of knew he's been around here for a while, but we just have never really had confirmation, and the fact that he can glitch into any of these scenes just kind of confirms that. I mean, he goes to Fredbear's, he goes to all the other different minigames in this game. He seems to kind of be connected to everything. How he's connected to all these other things, I don't know, but that seems to be the case. And once again, Shadow Freddy doesn't appear here. Shadow Freddy always had a much smaller role in these games than Shadow Bonnie, which I just don't understand. It's hard to say why, but Shadow Bonnie has always been more important, even though Shadow Freddy's the main character. You'd think he would be the most important one. Maybe it has something to do with the lore of these characters, but since we don't know the lore behind these characters, it's hard to say why this is. And then Happiest Day is obviously the children getting their rest after Phone Guy is killed. Purple Guy is killed. It doesn't... I feel like I've raised more questions than answers here, and I feel like that's what I usually do in the second section of these videos, but in FNAF 4 onward, we are going to get into so much more stuff, because that's where things start to get really serious and start really connecting. So this second section is going to be a lot more fleshed out, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, that's all for now. Again, I feel like I didn't help very much. I just feel like I just raised more questions than answers, but we're going to be getting to some really interesting stuff next time in this second section of the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new here, blah 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 blah. Like, subscribe, you know the thing. See you guys next time. Bye bye.